And the best and the greatest day to be alive is today. And welcome to the Wise Hour. I'm your host, Jay Mullane, also known as Wise, where we be dropping 24 karat gold bars in the family. I have an amazing guest. Tell you, get your notepads, get your iPads, get your tablets, wherever that recording device is. Make sure you have it here because right now, I'm telling you, 24 karat gold bars will be dropped indeed. We're going to talk about, you know what, being an advocate. Being an advocate. So, but this going to be a little bit different. So I want y'all guys truly to tune in because you're going to truly learn something special today from our special guest. But before we jump into the show, I need y'all guys to subscribe, hit the like button, and definitely share. Hey, we are a community here, and more you push this out, more and more this great value 24 karat gold bars, what I would say, will go out to so many people. So make sure you do that. And I just want to thank each and every subscriber, each and every person who shared these videos because truly it's a blessing, not just to me, but many people in our community. All right, family. So I'm not going to hold you. So, hey, once us go into the show and learn some true value today. All right, family. So let's go.
At the Wise Hour, we break through the night, bringing knowledge fire, so hold on tight. Every episode, a story to unfold. We're turning every minute into gold.
All right, dropping 24 karat gold bars indeed. All right, we have the amazing Pastor Renee Bradford. How you doing today, Pastor? What's going on?
Yeah.
Raise the roof, raise the roof.
Brother Wise, thank you so much. I'm doing wonderful today. Thanks so much. Thank you.
Oh, you're quite welcome. This is a special show today because we're going to actually talk about being an advocate, and you have a unique thing that we're going to actually talk about. I think and put a little twist in how we think about being an advocate. So, we're going to deep dive in that. So I want people to really tune in. It's just not what we call our normal way, and we'll actually. I think expand our thinking. So looking forward to that. And I want people to actually anticipate. So people stay tuned to the end because we're going to ask something from y'all guys that I think you will be a part of this amazing thing of being an advocate as well. So definitely tune into that. So what we want to do, just in case somebody in this world don't know, but we global, right? What we want to do is want to introduce you, let the people know who you are.
Thank you so much, Brother Wise. It's indeed a pleasure to be here. I bring you greetings from North Carolina. I'm Renee Bradford, better known as the Pastor of Peace, and it's my pleasure to be here. I'm an advocate for pastors and also for activists, and I also am a clarity coach, and it's my pleasure to be here. Today, I get a chance to be an academic, and so I'm just pleased to share with you more about my research and then I get to be a scholar girl today. So thank you.
You're quite welcome. I just want to thank you for making the time in your productive schedule. I like using the word productive, a productive schedule to be able to actually share this with us. I think there's something that we all can get involved to what with the subject we're going to talk about. And we're going to talk about it's an interesting way to put it, and that is being a accidental advocate and influence. So that's what we're going to start off today. So with that, Pastor Renee, you have described yourself as a accidental advocate. What
Yes.
does this term means to you, and how does it reflect your approach to leadership and justice work?
Oh, this is so good. Thank you, Brother Wide. What's interesting is I did not think that I was an activist. I have been doing ministry work for a number of years, and then also with my research, I have been exploring the role of digital networks in supporting contemporary racial justice activists, and it's centered in contemplative practices. What is so inspiring about my work is that I, like many, did not understand myself to be an activist. I thought you had to go out and march or participate in protests. And I found that there was quiet activism and that I'm also not the only one. And so, just recently, and a few months ago, I've been doing some focus groups. And in the focus groups, it was interesting that whether someone would consider themselves in the civil rights era or in racial justice now, there are some who simply said, I don't see myself as an activist, but they're clearly doing the work. So that's what makes this so unique. And also, that's what makes our conversation um, meaningful for such a time as this. Because when we talk about activism, I ask questions like, what are you passionate about? What moves you to action? Do you see an inequality in the area that you have reach? I also ask the question, do you see any way to bring balance? The next question I ask is, where do you get in the middle? And usually the response, where a person is moved to action or where they make a difference, I would say that that's activism. That means that you are actively engaging and bringing a balance to where you see injustice and where you see indifference. And so I'm learning that some of us are activists by accident. I'm complete.
I love the way you put it. I love it, like you said, by accident. And in so many ways, we look at it, and we look at it in the way of an advocate because we're so used to what we saw in the past, right? You see people marching with signs, or you see people stand on the corner, or you see, like I said, a great march of people and stuff like that. But it's many ways you can actually be an advocate. In many ways, you can be involved in the community. Like you said, the word quiet, but I like the way you say accidental, because the thing is, you realize you are doing something, but it's not pertaining to what you thought, what the are called the perceived the traditional way of doing it.
Oh,
And
yeah.
that's why I say bring. I think that's the way we need to show actually think, right? And like, oh, it's not always had to be the traditional way of doing things, but it can be a unique way, but it still get the purpose done. And that is being an advocate and actually leading people to, I guess I say the community, people or the community to purpose.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Brother Wise, I tell you what, when this became real for me was during the George Floyd uprising. And
Ooh.
I remember having that moment in which I was plastered to the TV. I mean, I was just absorbed by what was happening around me. And I was thinking, this is historical. This is something that's happening during my time in my life, in which I was for certain that my grandkids would ask me, like, Granny, what were you doing during the George Floyd uprising? And I wanted to be able to say I was making a difference. We were
Ooh.
just, like coming into COVID. And I had this feeling that, resource wise, like, what can I do? Who am I in this moment? And I thought, well, I have myself, I have my Facebook friends, I've got this computer. And so let's see what we can do. And so, Brother Wise, I went out, and with my friends who agreed to go out with me, I actually did 10 weeks of what's called Redeem the 10, in which we brought together artists and also other activists, and we did something on social media called Redeem the 10. It meant to redeem your time, redeem those 10 minutes that were stolen from us, in which George Floyd's life was being painted as a picture right before us. And his death caused so many of us to want to act and want to respond. And so, in that way, I responded. And if at that time you were to ask me, are you an activist? I probably would say not likely. However, when you respond in compassion, when you
Come
respond
on now.
with authenticity,
Come on
then
now.
that makes you one who is bridging the gap. Research, I love doing the research because the research helps you get in the middle of the data and also the lived experiences. And so, yeah, I'd have to say that that is really accidental in some ways, but it really is my friend. You know, my friend Monique Lisa, who
Yes.
actually came up and helped to coin the phrase as we were talking about um, what this dissertation means to all of us in the community. Because y'all know I'm getting this for everybody in the community. This is not just my dissertation; it is for all of us. And we were just talking about how the very first question on the survey that I'm doing for quantitative analysis is, are you an activist? And how folks get stuck there. They're like, I don't know, am I? And so she coined the phrase. She said, yeah, it's just almost like being an accidental activist. So we've been hanging on to that since she kind of said, yeah, that's what it feels like. I'm feeling that right now. I love that. So Monique Lisa was the one who actually kind of brought that to the forefront. And it has served a great purpose to be able to bridge that gap and to
Mm,
bring members of the community out to answer the question, are you an activist? And most of the stories I'm hearing is yes, but it's not because I'm a part of some group or not because this is something that I've been told to do. This is something that is on the inside of me that I have chosen to do because I can make a difference. Yeah.
come on now. Come on now. 24 karat gold bars drop indeed. And you're right. We all can make a difference. See, you already I actually had my next question was gonna be what's that with that moment or that first event that got you to start that way. And I'm glad you mentioned that with the George Floyd. So on the follow up to that, I'm gonna add to that question that I was gonna ask you already answered. So you're already all up in my mind already. So is when you're talking about that moment, was that like you said, it was accidental, right? But it really wasn't. Was it a immediate reaction to it when you saw it that you want to be involved, or was this like a gradual awakening and it just took you a process to get there?
Yeah. I thank you for asking that question. And I've had some time to do some reflection. But I think my experience in activism started well before that as a student at
Mm,
Central State University. I won't tell you the year, but just think 6 a.m. in the morning and you're in your dorm. The sunlight has not broken through, the dawn is still awakening, and you hear drum beats and also the sound of marching feet throughout your dorm. And all you hear is, wake up, wake up, wake up. And that was our student government president, Toby Miller, alongside of our marching band, encouraging us to wake up. It was at the brink of apartheid. I was a new student. I was new to an HBCU, and Toby Miller stood in the middle of our campus and said, "It's time to wake up." And at that time, I was introduced to apartheid. I was introduced to the work of Winnie and Nelson Mandela, and music was so much a part of my life. I was so um, just engrafted in the music of Hugh Masekela. And at that time, um, I think that that is where I became more sensitive and aware of what was happening outside of my block, what was happening in the much larger, bigger, greater world. And understand, we didn't have necessarily social media or digital spaces at that time. So much of what we were learning was from each other. But then after that, I accepted my calling in ministry and I went to United Seminary. And at United Seminary, it was a mecca. It was a mecca of liberation theologians. It was a mecca of um, the Black thought leaders, pastors, preachers, all in one space for our DMin program and then also for our master's program. Just think James Cone and um, all of the prominent thinkers at that time, and that is also where I met my mentor, the Reverend Dr. Otis Moss Jr., who is still one of our legacy civil rights leaders, who is still living at this time. And I think that they've been pouring into me. They've been pouring into me, and
Wow.
to top it off, the years of experience, the years in ministry, and being hands on with communities. And then again, to top it off, having an experience where I felt led to respond. Um, I believe it is because my elders and because of the folks around me. Prathia Hall was one of my instructors, and just them pouring into us, and it was like it was like a moment waiting to happen. And the research is really bringing to the forefront all of the years of listening and investment and studying and listening to the words of Howard Thurman and living in his definition of what it means to be marginalized or have your backs against the wall. So all of these things bubbled up during the George Floyd uprisings, and all in the effort to be able to respond to my grandchildren. When they say, Granny, what were you doing? I would say I was making a difference. And so it's been a lifetime journey, Brother Wise. And it is a journey of gratitude in which I believe I've been poured into.
Come on now. Come on now. 24 karat gold bar dropped indeed. I
It's
love the
true.
word. It had one word. You always say, what's the one word? The one word, legacy.
Legacy.
What you
Thank
leaving is legacy. You live in legacy. And what you do with the word legacy, not just the financial, that's very important, the financial and the knowledge of the person, but also the knowledge of what we call history and
you.
wisdom. And we share those things that get passed on as well. You mentioned something that I want to bring up and actually ask
Yeah.
you about, and that is, since you have been influenced by, like you had just gave off the list of several key figures, like you said, Otis Moss Jr., I believe Dr. Howard Storman, and I believe Senator, I think Pastoral.
Yep.
So, yep. So, how have their teaching shape your research, and also how you lead as a pastor in today's society?
Yeah. Um, when I think about the three prominent people who have influenced me and also poured into my thinking, would be again Reverend Otis Moss Jr., Howard Thurman, and also Samuel Proctor. When I think about what I have learned and listened for in their voices, um, when I think about Reverend Dr. Otis Moss Jr., his lessons have been, again, the word you used was legacy, but as one of his students, and also I was his first intern. I think I was his first intern, but I'm claiming that I was. I was his first intern. And in that space, I learned so much about legacy. I was witnessing the building of the Otis Moss Jr. Medical Center at that time. He allowed me to be a part of early conversations and to see blueprints and to take field trips in the city of Cleveland, Ohio, in which I was witnessing what it looked like to be in community, but also to assert yourself into what's needed in the community. So there now, to this day, is Otis Moss Jr. Medical Center right in the city and very close to Olivet Institutional Baptist Church. And so I got to see legacy. From Howard Thurman, I learned to go inward and
Mm.
to be aware of how I respond and choose to respond, but to take on contemplative practices even in the midst of what is experienced externally. And so, with that comes this great wisdom of, uh, I think he uses the term centering down and
Ooh.
giving permission to um, only God to have a sacred space where my emotions are, where I choose to be present, and then also where I choose to act. And that's really important in these times when we are seeing social media drive where we are acting and where we are choosing to spend our time or to promote our interests. So I really appreciate that. And then there is Samuel Proctor, the preacher of all preachers. I won't say that there are so many, but the reason why I love Samuel Proctor is the way that he helps the listener. If you're listening to his preaching, the way he leads you to an aha moment, whether that's describing what a flower that blooms at night sounds like, or whether it's describing where the tension is in a culture and then bringing that to contemporary light. I love listening for the aha moment, and he has taught me so much about what it means to preach, but to bring it to a place where the listener says, what must I do in this moment? It's a call to action whenever you listen to him. And so those three preachers, and I dare not miss Prathia Hall, because in the time that I was able to learn from her and spend time with her, I learned, and you probably have heard me talk about this, but there's some grace under fire um, with spending time with someone who is so eloquent, preacher of all preachers, indeed. And she was the reason why I accepted my call to preach, is when I saw her on the cover of a prominent African American magazine in the United States that says that she was the number one preacher at that time. And I said I needed to be wherever she is. And at that time, she was at United Seminary in Dayton, Ohio. These influences have made quite a difference in my life. I want to talk about Reverend Dr. Robert Franklin, who was the president of the Ford Foundation, but also who has served as a mentor in my life. And then also I have to say about Jacqueline Shipe, and who I received her award as a young person. And she was instrumental in my life because she said, whoever receives my reward, I want to have relationship with them. And so she is my mentor to this day. And back in the day, she was a vice president within NYNEX. So think before we had T-Mobile and all of that, she was holding down the diversity and equity space. We call it that now, diversity and equity spaces,
Mhm.
well before it was popular or even a part of corporate language. And so
Mhm.
these are my mentors, but they have taught me, one, humility, and two, to be a good listener, and three,
Ooh.
to always um, carry the human story or the experience in such a way that it can be a place of transformation. And so that's what I learned, Brother Wild. Thank you for letting me talk
Come on.
about it.
Come
Thank
on
you.
now. Come on now. And I love the way because you're a great influencer yourself, right? We want to talk more about the spaces that you actually that you hold and stuff like and things in between, and hearing you talk about them affectionately, and from your heart, what I'm
Yeah.
saying, just how they make you feel, and that it inspires you, and like you mentioned before, the call to action. Any person who's a influencer in your life, they should give you a call to action. The call to action is to be able to walk in your purpose. It motivates you. So you know what? If they can do that, I can do something as well that can attribute to something in the community. And you attribute to me because you have been a true blessing to me. And their I would say their influences on you have transpired, had also left you to other folks indirectly, what I'm saying? It has also touched my life, even though I have not even met the amazing Reverend Morris, in real life, but you're a reflection of him. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
You're a reflection of him. And Howard Thurman, even though you got the teaching stuff from there, from that. But guess what? What I'm saying? The influence is there. And all of the amazing people in your life, you are a representative of reflection of that as well. Like with the humility, what I'm saying? Being a good listener and trying to do things that actually help the next person. All the things, the lessons they taught you is the same lesson that you teach others to actually apply as well. So it's so amazing using the one word for the day, that can be legacy, right?
Brother
With
Juan.
being said, I want to ask you this one because this leads up to this, and because all this information you take in, all these things you have done to being an advocate and then being an accidental advocate, right? How do you balance your role, both as being a pastor and an advocate? It's a two-part question. Do you ever find tension between those identities?
Mhm. Yeah, brother Wise, I'd have to say yes, and I'll tell you why. I'll tell you why. It's interesting you would ask that question. Is if I find tension with those particular roles, and I would have to say yes. And the reason is because I'm an introvert. I am an introvert, brother Wise, and the quiet inward parts of me long for just the moments where I have with God, and then also the moments where I can linger in my thoughts. And being a public servant, which I am, and being a servant leader, which I am, you have to engage with people with personalities. There are people, there are personalities, there are situations that actually take you to your highest height in terms of being stretched or having to um, not only show empathy, but to recognize that we are all human. And I would say I am most stretched when I am being authentic to what my mode of interaction is. And my mode of interaction is peace. And I have found that when you are a peaceful person, that maybe people entertain or try to get you to a tipping point.
Mm-hmm.
And so there are days and times where I feel stretched, but I know that these are lessons that God gives to us. We're in Lent season right now, and during Lent, we are reminded to be um, inward in terms of reflecting on what it means to journey through the wilderness as Jesus did, and within the wilderness, there were temptations. And with those temptations came the word of God. And it's where we find ourselves when we are at our limits, or as our sister Kathy would say, when we need to halt. Are we hungry? Are we angry? Are we lonely? Are we
Yep.
tired? And otherwise, if I were to be honest, I think I am stretched when I am my most authentic self, and when I offer to God my quiet self, as well as my external energetic self, and bringing balance to that, I think is an art form. And I think that's mostly what I learned from Howard Thurman as well, is how to bring that into um, a quiet resolution, and at
Mm,
peace, to be at peace.
come on now. 24 karat gold bars dropped. Indeed. And I mean indeed. Come on now. And I love how you said that and you being honest about it. And that's the thing about it, is being honest about the situation. Yes, it's a yes. The question is, you say it's the attention there, yes.
Yes.
And but the balance is understanding what your purpose is at that moment and how you can shift, how you need to shift to actually address a situation, especially when you're dealing with people, and especially when you deal with the role of leading people into a purpose. Well, the calling is, we know both of us being Black Americans, right? There is a ancestry that's there, not just what happened with the standpoint of what happened back in slavery time, but guess what? There's a history even before that. And
Oh,
understanding what the culture is before that will led us to what happened even with slavery. But guess what? The journey from there, in each and every path that people from the South move to the North. People from the North move out into do the great thing. People from the North move down to the South. People here created families, they created communities. They got together. They communicated, like you said, being humble within their heart. I mean, it had to be a push over, layover. They just knew their purpose and they are willing to listen to get an understanding and realize when that tension is there, I need to do something about it. But how can I go about it? That is being humble, being willing to listen, and be able to move forward to be able to help others. Come on now. Come on now. You just started something now. Have us preaching up in here. Have us preaching up in here. 24 karat gold. Ball drop in. Hey, fam. I'm taking a quick interlude. Have a sponsor. He have a message for you. So
Leaders
check it
don't
out.
wait for change. They create it. Champions don't walk alone. They stand together in faith in this great collaboration. This is your invitation to the Leaders Live Generously Prayer Breakfast of Champions, a gathering of visionaries, believers, and world changers. Where? I'm telling you, 32747 Grand Travis, May the 3rd, 2025 at 9:30 a.m. It will be a morning of revelation, restoration, and renewed strength. Isaiah 40:31 says, "But they that wait upon the Lord shall renew their strength. They'll mount up with wings as eagles." You know it's your time to soar. I need you to come expecting divine encounters, prophetic impartation, kingdom connections that will shift your life forever. Don't miss this moment with destiny, because when leaders pray, heavens move. I want to see you there. Click now on the link. This is Dr. Prophet Anthony Shannon signing out. I'll see you in the place.
All right, family, you do not want to miss out on this amazing opportunity. So go to the link that was provided and register for this amazing event in May. So, family, we thank you for all the support, and we are going back to the show. All right, I'm going to shift up a little bit. We're going to talk about this segment right here, was talking about digital spaces
mm,
and also community. So, with that being said, because you do a special thing that I think a lot of people would talk about, it being a accidental advocate and stuff, but you got a niche approach on this. And Pastor Renee, in your dissertation, you explore the creation of digital spaces. Why do you believe these spaces are essential for our community today?
oh wow, that's a great question, Wise. Again, it's an accidental question, and it's accidental because of where I found myself um, during COVID as well, out in the spaces of Periscope. If we have any Periscope folks out there, we were out in Periscope, quite a parachurch community. But Brother Wise, I had determined that I would utilize that space to bring out some of the things that I was learning in leadership. And so I had already become a student at Antioch University, a student of leadership and change. And I thought, well, let me go out here on some Saturday mornings and do some leadership lessons and just begin to utilize this space. And accidentally, I was thinking I was opening it up for, C-suite leaders and all of that. But guess who showed up? The pastors, the preachers, the teachers, and every time I would open up, here they come. And I thought, well, Lord, what does this mean? And I thought to myself, if that is who comes, I will serve them. And consequently, Periscope closed at that time, Clubhouse opened. And we've talked about this beautiful story where I was, led by God to go on to Clubhouse and to open with prayer and just to hold space at 6 a.m. and to pray. And I've been doing that for 4 years now, 6 a.m. to 7 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. And the reason why my dissertation brings me to this place where I'm talking about digital spaces is because I believe I'm witnessing and living what transformation looks like in a digital space.
Come on now.
So I believe we've accomplished something within 4 years that maybe some others who journey in community may not experience for a lifetime. And that is folks from different corners of the world committing. And Brother Wise, you say it so beautifully. We're an example of the church in Acts, where we meet daily and break the bread of the word together. And in doing so, relationship happens.
Yes.
In doing so, we've never seen each other. Some of us have never seen each other face to face, but we know our brothers and sisters by their voice.
Indeed.
And we've cultivated an environment or an environment of care. And also, we have, in fact, endured for 4 years what others may not be able or are not likely to do in a lifetime, because we have spent time together in a digital space. And so, a space of healing, transformation. I've actually heard in some of my focus groups that there are individuals who don't believe that digital spaces hold that type of capacity or can be facilitated in such a way that brings healing. And I say otherwise because we're experiencing it on a day-to-day basis, 6 a.m. to 7 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, in the lemonade stand, in Clubhouse, and also in the House of Creativity. We are living epistles. And that's why I'm doing the work I'm doing, because I believe, I know, I've seen it, I'm experiencing it. The digital spaces can be a place where healing happens.
Come on now. 24 karat gold bars drop ND. And I'm a witness to that because I've been there for, I guess, how I'm looking at it now, almost 3 years, not total 4, but 3 years of it. And like I said, it's the best way to start your morning. Those who there in the United States at 6 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. But it's a global platform. So we got people all over the world that comes in and share into the moment, share into that experience. Not just prayer, but sharing the hearts, the good, the indifferent, they come together. As you mentioned before, I used to what it says in Scripture in Acts 2, when they come together and be one mind daily, breaking bread. I said breaking bread, we break spiritual bread, right? You break digital bread.
Yeah.
we come and we share, and when somebody have a concern, we jump in. In the traditional way, I look at a lot of things, and nothing wrong with the traditional way that works for you. But in the traditional way, what you do, you get just the leader coming in. They give the amazing message to get the call to action, then everybody out the door. You provide a space where people can share and be able to express themselves, good and different. And then they communicate, not just you, but you do a great job as being a leader to giving words of wisdom. But there are other folks with words of wisdom. You allow the platform to be there. And with your, what you call your moderators, your mods there. And those who are on stage and those who are able to speak, give back and actually provide what we call solutions or opportunities for others as well. We've seen it so many times, and we don't, like you say, you provide a space, even though it's a digital space, it's a space for somebody's voice to be heard. And you mentioned the House of Creativity. And the founders of that is Delano A. Johnson, Monique Lisa Johnson. And one of the things that Delano said had touched my heart, and I always use this and nothing else, is that the spirit is within the voice. So there is a special frequency that come out from each and every one of you, Pastor Renee, that come out of me. That's one of the reasons why I have the Wise Hour, because it's the platform that helps to empower and to inspire. And those who know my story, I was going to do all in but tech channel, because I'm a techie. I love technology. But I was driven to actually to put a platform together, allow people to come on to inspire others and use their voice to be able to share with others. So, like you said, your influence influenced me, which in turn, I know because I get so much feedback, have influenced others. So that's the thing about having digital spaces. And since you talk about, because we talk dissertation, you did a great job breaking it down. But you
Oh,
know, and so I'm going to throw this at you real quick.
yeah.
You said your research asks what factors does advocate engage in racial justice work, regards as critical in building a digital support network, employing, I guess you say, unique temporary practices. From your findings so far, what surprised you the most?
Wow, that's a great question. I think what surprised me the most is all of the data is not in yet. So
Okay,
what I'm saying is a little skewed
we give
right
you some grace. Then we give you some
now.
grace.
Okay, thank you. So all of the data is not in yet. What surprised me the most would be in the focus group settings. One of the things that I learned in the focus group is going to stay with me forever. I think I understood um, time in a chronological way. So when I think of a person's age, I think of that person as my mentor, or we think in terms of being a mentor, a mentee, or a protege. So all of that to me has, maybe some connections to maybe your mentor is older than you are, or you're a mentee or a protege. And so there's some age. I saw in our focus groups two things that happen. You have a mentee who is in their, say, their late 70s, who still looks up and calls that they have a mentor in
Mhm.
their 80s and that kind of thing. And as it relates to the civil rights, then you have another strong and powerful individual who comes in um, later in their late 60s and would not call themselves necessarily a civil rights leader, because that mantle or that particular label or understanding is not just with chronological age. It has to do with this understanding that, wow, wise, how do I say this? They're waiting for the torch to be passed.
Ooh, okay.
And even, strong, powerful individuals and adults are looking for affirmation or looking for permission to move into spaces of activism or leadership. And so, whereas it can be assumed that by age, um, I was thinking that yes, you're a civil rights leader. And what I understood that no matter what the age was, there was this underlying understanding that maybe perhaps because I did not march in the civil rights movement, then I cannot call myself an activist, or because I'm not politically inclined to participate in protest, I cannot call myself an activist. That was a huge surprise to me.
Okay.
That was a huge surprise to me, Brother Wise.
Wow. 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 That's amazing. I did not see it as that. Wow. So how do a person really, if you, I guess like you said, you mentioned before, being a quiet advocate. There's ways that you can be it and influence it. Sometimes not having the big town hall, but maybe having the personal gatherings and actually giving input to something that can lead somebody else into another, because there's so many people, like you say, in the space, and we have one person that actually is in that space, and they clearly say, I cannot be saying anything right now because I'm in this space, because they work for the I guess you'll say for the government. That's the best way.
Yes.
So they
Yeah.
say that, but what they do, they give input of, you know what, you should think of it like this, or bring insight. And I think what we need to do as a people, in certain places, hey, yeah, sometimes, you got to stand for the cause, you got to stand what you is. But some people you just can't, because wherever the position is, that is politically or in family or wherever it is, but there's always the opportunity to actually share your voice to someone to give them I guess we'll say, a gentle nudge to move forward. Not shove, not shovel, but the different, Go ahead, Pastor.
This is interesting. And I just want to speak to anyone who is maybe listening to the broadcast, and like there's this real tension there. And the tension is from maybe you feel a sense of urgency to perhaps define for another person what their advocacy looks like, or if they're an activist or not an activist. And I would encourage anyone who's feeling that tension to be mindful that we all have a different, perhaps, invitation to participate in change. And so, with that in mind, I think I learned that from Howard Thurman. And as much of as a advocate as he was, and also as one who was very wise, and also um, who was in the advising seat for many of the civil rights leaders, particularly Dr. King, was also ridiculed by other civil rights activists, that because he was a contemplative, that he wasn't really an activist. And so that is something that's prominent. And I also think that it's a place where we can offer care to contemplatives, to those who are seated in maybe spaces where they're advocates or allies, or they express their activism in behind the scenes ways, and to encourage them that you are an activist, and how can we offer care to you? Because the reality is that the journey that we're on with injustice of any kind is that it's a marathon and not a sprint. And so it's going to take care of the soul and care of self in order to endure what's ahead of us. And so that also is the reason why I'm doing the work, because I believe that if there are spaces, digital spaces, where we can pause and where we can reposition ourselves, I think that the marathon will be easier to complete. We can finish the race strong
Yes.
without injuring our souls.
Come on now.
So that is where I believe um, I have sought to make a difference, is to hold those spaces, to teach moderation, meaning the facilitation of holding spaces like that, and also to be in spaces with leaders to encourage introspection and also pause. But I believe that it has to be cultivated, and it is something that is yet to be uh, learned or introduced to many of our leaders.
Come on now. Come on now. 24 karat gold bars dropped in D. I love the word you said, marathon. And you think of a community of people who believe in one another. If you think of a marathon, when you see a runner, an athlete, or whoever he is involved in a marathon, if you pay attention, most of them, not all occasions, but most of the time, they have people, support people there along the way. And in the journey up there, they always hear somebody like, hey, you got to keep on going. We proud of you. Keep on going. You got this. They go on another couple miles. Hey, you got this. It's always good when you have in your journey, people that will be there, that will also encourage you, let you know that you are going on the path. You're not alone, even though they might not be running with you, but they're along the journey with you. They can encourage you and keep you. And that's what you do, Pastor Renee. You always encourage, even we are in the journey of life. You are there, that voice you hear, that is like, hey, you got this. Keep on doing, move forward. You can accomplish it. You can complete this. And then, like you said, when you get to the end of the marathon, when you do, you hug up with everybody in, you're there celebrating in the moment when it's actually complete. And that's the thing we want to talk about when we're talking about being an advocate, is to encourage people along the way, wherever that journey of that marathon take them, but being with them and encourage them and help them meet them at the finish line when they're, what you call it, that task is complete, for them to go to the next marathon. Come on now. You
That's right.
started
That's
something.
right. That's good.
Come on now. Learn from you. Learn from, learn from the master. Learn from the master. You know what I'm saying? We're going to wrap up the show soon, but I want to talk about something real quick. And as a part of what you're doing, we're talking about the digital space and stuff. But you have another word they use, and that's this prophetic imagination. So, what role does prophetic imagination play in your work, especially in relation to both your both in your what you're preparing for as your dissertation and work that you're doing with leaders?
Oh, wow. Thank you, Brother Wise. I really appreciate you asking that question. Um, I believe we're in a discerning moment, especially in our time and in our culture. And I believe that prophetic imagination allows you to see beyond the present moment, to really, just take in and envision a reality that hasn't yet come to pass. And that reality is rooted in hope and justice and healing. And so, as a pastor, as a clarity coach, as one who is journeying alongside of leaders, it is my goal to just journey in such a way that I'm asking the relevant questions that lead to using the prophetic imagination. That means drawing on imagery and going beyond just the moment. And so, even in my dissertation, prophetic imagination really drives why I'm exploring this topic of digital spaces. Digital spaces as tools of transformation. And then here I am offering a vision for what these spaces can be. I would say that that is prophetic imagination, where digital spaces can be a place of deep rest, um, communal healing, and also collective action.
Ooh.
But for the leaders that I work with, prophetic imagination really invites those leaders to move beyond the limitations or the boundaries of their current circumstances, and then to see their leadership as a part of a much larger sacred work of justice. I'm from the Black church tradition, and traditionally, Black churches have been asked to not only be the place of sacred space, but then also where movements happen. Um,
Mm.
Many of our pastors are ill equipped for such a mandate. And I serve as a gentle reminder that there are spaces where you can be replenished, spaces where also, even as a pastor or as a leader, you can be equipped. And I just hope that maybe the ways in which I'm supporting pastors and leaders at this time will inspire them to not only act for the way that the world is right now, but to inspire to use their prophetic imagination to act in a way which holds dear what the world can be. And so that's what I believe my role is at this time. That's where I believe I can make a difference. Prophetic
Oh,
imagination. Thank you.
oh, come on, and you making a difference. You truly are making a difference. And I love the terminology how you did prophetic imagination. And the thing is the ability to create. Imagination is actually thinking and being creative. And your thought process, then you both take those things and you make into action. And prophet, when you get the prophetic, and that is the, I call it the message from God. And the message from God, and you take those creation thought processes and you make it come to pass. How do you come to pass? Is you actually sit down and with me, you sit down and you pray about it, write it down, and ask God how to move forward with it. If you seek wisdom, ask God for wisdom. Right? It says, "You any bad lack of, then ask of it." Then if you have challenges, then you reach out to the people that God had put in your life, who you can trust to be able to share that with, because you can't share your imagination with everybody. So you got to see good counsel, and you find good counsel like you and several other people that you can sit down with, and like you said, you always ask the good questions, right? So they ask the question and actually bring the focus back to you. You don't give just the solution, but what you do, you actually lead the person to that thought process of the imagination to come to a solution or resolve. So I love the way how you put that as well. So we got. I'm going ahead and wrap up the show real
All right,
soon.
let me
Yeah,
say
well,
one thing.
I got something I need to ask you, but go ahead. You say you got something you
Let me
want
say
to go ahead,
one
drop that
thing.
gold. Go drop that gold bar. Drop that
I
gold bar.
didn't I didn't coin that phrase, and if anybody is interested in doing a deeper dive, Walter Brueggemann actually coined that phrase. And if you
Oh,
get a chance to look at that work, Prophetic Imagination, Walter Brueggemann, please do. It will enrich your life. It will enrich your life.
okay. Well, thank you for bringing it to Claire. I'm sure we'll give it all to you right there.
Oh, no. No, no. I can't take all of that. Thank
Okay. I'll do it. Hey, how you framed that right there? Yeah, you had me sold on that one. Um, I want to add this, family. She's doing this amazing thing. And what we want to do, we want to get your guys involved. So, Pastor Renee, I think you have an amazing survey. Can you talk about it right now and explain
you.
that a survey that everybody can be involved, so they're gonna have to be an acid, they really doing true, it had to be an accidental advocate, but they actually could be an advocate. Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, Brother Wise, I'm in a special space in my dissertation journey, and it is the data analysis portion in which I'm using multi methods to actually answer the question, or to ask the question, do a deeper dive as to how digital spaces can be a source of support um, by providing either a network or just uncovering what really racial justice activists need at this time. in digital spaces. And so the survey starts by asking the question, are you an activist? And so that's how we came upon the term accidental activist. But then also it goes a little bit deeper to ask questions about how you receive rest as a racial justice activist and if a digital support network might support you in that way as well. And so this survey is really helping to get your voice out. One of the things, or one of the reasons why I'm even in a PhD program, is to get in the middle of the data. I've heard many say that they can't capture the voice of the activists, and sometimes it's because the activists, they're in the trenches, and so they don't have the opportunity to participate in research. And so this is an opportunity to have your voice included and also your experience included in a quantitative survey. It takes you about 15 minutes, and it asks if you are an activist and how a digital support network may be of service to you. And then it identifies those things in which may be important to an activist for their digital support network. And so that's the nature of the qualitative survey.
Awesome, awesome. So everybody, what I want y'all guys to do is actually go to this link
Thank you.
and also go to this QR code right here that's on the screen right now. So go ahead and anticipate right now. It's going to bless not just you, but other folks as well. As she does her research, and you can be a person who can be an advocate as well. And actually, I believe that first question is still there, right? Is that first question, and the answer is still yes on the first question?
Yes.
Yes on the first. So we're not going to say just on the first question. Just go ahead and say yes. That's all I'm saying. Just say yes. Then, but other than that, then answer all the other questions as you see it. So, amazing survey. And Pastor Renee got one more question. Then we're going to wrap up this amazing podcast. This is a wise hour. So I always ask this question. Define the word life and what do life means to you.
Oh, in a simple term, life means doing more of what you love more often. That's life.
Come on. Simple and sweet, but complete.
That's it.
There we go. Bars indeed. Come on.
More of what you love more often.
There you go. We thank you. We thank you for taking your time out of your schedule and actually doing the greater work. Being an accidental advocate, but you really are intentional what you do. And you bring forth intentionality to each and every person who is connected to you. I want the people who are connected to you as well. And actually, like I say, increase the way I see life as we come together using the digital places, the digital streets, as you would say.
Right?
Go forth and spread the message of hope and opportunity and life to each and every one of us. So thank you. And we got to get you back on the podcast another time, especially after you do the completion of the research and the dissertation. As we already call you Dr. Renee Bradford. We'll meet you everything efficient. We had to bring you back, and we're going to talk more about it and the complete finding of what you have as well. Okay.
Absolutely. And thank you. And Brother Wise, I'm so proud of you. Thank you for being salt and light in this big old world. Thank you.
Oh, family, was that amazing show today? I tell you right now, Pastor Renee was dropping 24 karat gold bars indeed. Now you understand how to be, if you can call yourself, an accidental advocate. But, you learn so much about how you can be involved in the community in many different ways. So I will encourage y'all guys, go to the link and go to the QR code and also take out the survey. It's going to benefit her as she do her dissertation, but more than that, also give you some ideas or awareness, especially dealing with being an advocate. So thank you for the support, family, and looking forward to hearing more from Pastor Renee. All right, family. I have a book. It's Enti. So this book, it deals with a lot of challenges that I had in my childhood with school, family, I guess you'll say the lesser, dealing with anxiety, But not just that, it show you how to win and the process how I went through to actually to win. So definitely check out that book. Go to this link and order your digital copy today. All right, family. Also, I have a merch line. If you want to support this channel, that's a great way to support. Go to this link and you'll see the t-shirts line up. And I'm planning to do some more in the future. So be looking out for future updates. But definitely go to the link and order your t-shirt today. All right, family. Love is a action word. While you're taking the time to love yourself, make sure you show love to someone else. And we'll see you on the next The Wise Hour. Family, take care and have a wonderful weekend. And peace.
Walking down this lonely road, heart heavy like a stone. Whispers in the night air tell me I'm not alone. Shadows try to hide the light, but love shines so bright. Even in the darkest times, it will be my guide. Love will always find you. Love never fails. Through the highs and lows, love prevails. Love will always find you. Love never fails. In your heart and soul, love will prevail. Days may come and fade. Feel the beating of my heart. Close your eyes and feel it too. Love is never far apart. When the world is cold and gray and you can't find your way, just remember what I say. Love is here to stay. Love will always find you. Love never fails. Through the highs and lows, love prevails. Love will always find you. Love never fails. In your heart and soul, love will prevail.